All right, this is going to be my first attempt at ever doing a sports game video, so bear with me. I'm going to do a brief introduction to data boxing, the board game, which I've recently taken from various sources, all the source material that I could, and created a new playable version that you can download. Some history on the game. Data boxing was created back in 1976 by Dr. Julian Compton. He was a humanities professor at Florida A&M, and he was a great contributor to studying boxing as a sport. He watched tons of videos, wrote articles for magazines, and came up with this game, which is one of the best boxing games to this day. And although Dr. Compton unfortunately passed away from us in 2010, his game still lives on because there are fans out there like myself and others who still love this game and still contribute rating new cards for boxers. But a lot of people have been intimidated by the instructions and the rules for this game that make it seem it's a lot more complicated than it is. So I wanted to do a series of maybe tutorial videos on this game to sort of ease people into learning how to play it in a more friendly fashion. I did try to rewrite the rules in the zip file I have available. I'll put a link to where you can find that file in the description of the video. I tried to rewrite the rules so that they're cleaner and easier to comprehend, but I've already gotten questions from folks on them, so I decided to give a try at making these videos. For this first video, I'm taking two boxers that were randomly chosen from the 156 heavyweight boxers I created in the zip file. I'm running a 128-man single elimination tournament, and I didn't do any seeding. I just drew people at random. So for this exhibition, it's going to count towards my tournament results, but for the purpose of this tutorial, my tournament bout will also be the teaching bout. So the two randomly chosen boxers are Oscar Bonavena from his 1964 to 76 period, and Alexander Povetkin rated up to 2020. So we'll take a look at both of their cards a little bit and discuss about how to set the game up to play and to get started. But we'll take a look at their cards first. Every card has their class. I have only done heavyweights. There is the years the card is active, height and weight. Some of them don't have all the information. This is an optional strength rating. It doesn't have any effect in play, and the country of origin. This here is their boxing rating, which is a rating of how good a boxer they were. We can see here that Povetkin is slightly better than Bonavena as a boxer, at least in data boxing. He is a C+, and he's a C. This number here, 72, on both of them is how many points their offensive column. This is a boxer's offensive column. This is the defensive column. This 72 is how many points that card will contribute in a fight, and we'll see how that works. Subject to power reducing, which we'll talk about later. In the middle of each boxer's card is a very important rating, which is the TKO rating. This represents the boxer's ability to take punishment and not be TKO'd. Bonavena with a 36 is a bit higher than normal. That's good. He had a record of 58-9-1 he finished with, and of those 9 losses, He was never knocked out. He had a TKO in the 15th round against Muhammad Ali, who knocked him down 3 times in that round. But other than that, he never took a KO punch that put him out. And Povetkin has a more normal TKO rating of 30, but a 15 in parentheses. And what that represents is every now and then Povetkin will come in the ring out of shape. So when he's out of shape, he's only going to have a TKO rating of 15, not 30. And we'll see how that affects. Over on this side are power, control, and aggression ratings. I'll talk about those a little later. Essentially, they're rounds where the fighter's going to have a little extra power. You can see Bonavena is going to have a little extra power in the second round. And in the 15th round, his opponent will actually be stronger against him. For Povetkin, he's a little stronger in the second and third, but he'll give up some power to the opponent in the 7th. And this control rating, Povetkin has one for the second and third rating that'll just help him control the pace of those rounds a little better. Underneath the TKO rating are, on the left, the boxer's offensive power rating, and on the right, his defensive power rating. So Bonavena is average power and slightly better than average defensive power, and Povetkin is average in both. So this is their offensive columns for the boxers, and this is their defensive column. If you roll a straight up number, you just score that many points. If you roll something like a TKO or a cut or an injury or N for knockdown, then you would roll on the opponent's defensive card to see if that actually happens or not. It would only happen if there was a match here. And Bonavena has a special weakness that he's really hard to knock down. But if you do knock him down, then he has a much better chance of going down again in the same round. So we'll look at that later. So as part of the instructions that I tried to write up, here is the setup. Choose 2 boxers. We did. I'm not going to bother with choosing a location. There are locations that you can choose for the purposes of this redo of the game. Only New York is different in that it's a round system instead of a 10-point must system. We're going to just choose normal foul handling and normal scoring. Neither of these guys have any real effect from fouls, so that won't come up in this bout. And scoring will talk about later when it comes time to score the round. All the fights in my tournament are going to be 12 rounds. And we're going to check if either fighter's out of shape. So this is where Povetkin's on a roll of 6 on a 6-sided die, he would be out of shape. And it is a 3. So he is going to use his full TKO rating. So this is a score sheet that I'm still working on. I put some score sheets in the zip file, but I found they're a little too small to write on for what I want. So I'm working on making a bigger one. I had, you can see Bonavena has a 36 TKO rating. This is for the TKO resistance, which is normally half of the TKO rating. That's how much punishment they can take in a single round before getting a TKO. And as the fight goes on, this number will get less and less. Povetkin, I had left him blank because I didn't know what the result of that roll was going to be, whether this was going to be a 30 or a 15. It's going to be a 30. And half of that is 15. And 15 is the minimum you can have for a resistance anyway. So even if Povetkin had been out of shape and his TKO would have been 15, his resistance would have still been 15 as well. And then the next thing I need to do before, sorry, I'm still working on how to do cameras. The other thing is we're going to have to check if there's a PowerPoint adjustment. And in this case, we have Bonavena has an offensive power of C, and Povetkin has a defensive power of C. So there's no change happening there. But Povetkin's C against this defensive B, I look on this PowerPoint adjustment to offensive C and a defensive B, there's a minus 16 there. So that means whenever I roll 16 here on Povetkin's offense, instead of scoring 2 points, he's only going to score 1 point because of Bonavena's defensive ability. And what I'm going to do on my score sheet is I'm just going to write that here as a reminder, minus 16. For this little number I put in the corner, every time a boxer has 1/3 of his TKO points scored against him, his power is going to start getting reduced in his TKO resistance. There's other effects that are going to happen that we'll go into later. But it's handy to know what the 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So I just put 1/3 of 36 is 12. So I remember, and I'll put a 10 down here for Povetkin. So every 10 points against Povetkin, his TKO resistance will go down from 15 to 14 to 13 to 12, etc. And that's all you really need to do to set up the fight. Then to get ready for the round, we would use the exchanges chart here for a 12-round heavyweight fight. The number of exchanges for each boxer in the first round is going to be 9. There are things that would change that, mostly if either of these boxers had aggression rounds, which they don't. So that's not going to affect the number of exchanges. Both will get 9 of them. And then we determine who leads the round. First, there would be, you check if they have any higher aggression rounds ratings. Neither of them are rated for that, so that doesn't come into a play. Versatility rating. Some boxers will be rated over here next to their number of points with what favored blows they have, where capital L is left to the body, capital R is right to the body, small L is left to the head, and small r is right to the head. And if they had some over here for however many they had, they would have a number over here, which would be their versatility rating. So if he had a RL for right and left to the body, this would be a C2. But neither of them have this rating, so that doesn't come into play, the versatility. Neither of them have the special aggressive boxer rating. That would be an A up here. There's only 4 boxers in the entire 156, I think, that have that special rating, so that's not going to come up. Neither of them has strategy points. Strategy points would be in this area. I've included them because they're part of the original game, and I've even included the rules for them, but I don't recommend them for solitaire play, and I won't be using them in any of the tutorials that you'll see unless I get really far along and I just want to demonstrate how they would be used, but I won't be using them in my tournament at all. So the next thing I would check is the boxing rating. So who has the higher boxing rating? So in this case, Povetkin's C+ is better than Bonavena's C. So Povetkin will lead every round. He'll always be the one that starts. And how the game works is I'll roll 3-sided dice and check Povetkin's card to see what happens. Let's say I'll just start this. So he rolled an 11, and if I look on his card, an 11 is blank, so that's just an exchange, and now Bonavena would roll. And we're going to go back and forth like that. I will record another video to show the effects of the first round. I just wanted to get this introductory video out on how to set up the fight and how to set up your score sheet and what some of the ratings on the cards were as a brief introduction. On the next one, we will play out at least the first round, and I will explain how I use the score sheet and why I needed bigger squares than in the score sheets in the zip file I put out. If you have any questions, leave comments on the video. Hope this was of some interest to people. Thanks. Bye.